All right, so here we have 12.1. It's all about tangent lines. And you've seen the word tangent before whenever we did the trig functions with sine, cosine, and tangent. But now we are doing, this is a different type of tangent, and it's a line. So this tangent, what's important about that you know about a tangent is it makes a right angle with the radius. So you draw the radius, and then the line that makes a right angle with the radius is your tangent. And these have lots of properties that we're going to use. Another important feature to note about tangent lines is they're really cool because they only hit the circle in one place. So this place right here is where they hit, and then they go on forever in each direction. So it just barely brushes the edge of the circle. Okay, so here we go. Let's do a problem. So the directions on this one say ML and MN are tangent to circle O. What is the value of X? So if it is tangent to circle O, we know right off the bat they make right angles. So I'm going to draw those right angles in there. Okay. All right, so now we need to find the value of X. Well, if you look, it has four sides. It looks like a kite, actually. This is a quadrilateral. Okay, so how many degrees do a quadrilateral interior angles always add up to be? The answer is always 360. So we're going to have X plus 117 plus 90 plus 90 is going to equal 360. Okay, now we're ready to solve it. Just combine your like terms, all of those. All right, and so when we add those up, we get 297 equals 360, then minus 297 from both sides. So we have X equals, I'm sorry, doing a little bit of math. It would be 63, okay? And does that seem like a realistic number for that angle? I would say yes. Okay, here's another problem. ED is tangent to circle O. So ED is the tangent. That means it makes a right angle. What is the value of X? So now we have a triangle. So it's very similar to the last problem. We're going to have X plus 90 plus 38 equals 180. Combine our like terms. We have X plus, what is that, 128 equals 180 minus 128 from both sides. X equals 52. Does that look like it could be 52? Yes, it does. Okay, so now here's the corollary to the circle tangent theorem that we just talked about. So now they're telling you that if it's a right angle there, that it is a tangent. It's kind of common sense if it goes back and forth. So if it's a tangent, it's a right angle. If it's a right angle, it's a tangent. I know, it seems a little redundant. Okay, now this next problem looks a little crazy, and that's because it is. But just stick with me, you can do it. So we are trying to find the radius of this circle. So the radius there or there, they're both the same. So we have a right triangle. What are we going to have to use to find sides of a missing triangle or of a right triangle? You're going to have to use my favorite, the Pythagorean theorem. A squared equals c squared. Okay, and so now we have, remember, our C is our hypotenuse. What is the hypotenuse? Well, that is this area right here, right? In yellow. So in yellow, what would that be? Is it 8 or is it X? The answer is it is neither. It is X plus 8. Okay? So it's X and 8 put together because it's the whole hypotenuse. So now we're going to have to put parentheses around that because it's a binomial. So X plus 8 squared. And I know you just freaked out, but it's okay. Stick with me. We're going to get through it. Okay, and now we need to do our two legs. So one of my legs is 12, so I'm going to have 12 squared. and the other leg is that x, so it'll be x squared. Okay, stick with me. All right, so now we are going to need to multiply that right side of that equation. So since it's that whole binomial squared, we're going to have to do x plus 8 times x plus 8. And I know it's been a minute since you FOILed anything, but it'll be okay. We're going to do it together. So let's go ahead and do it. And I just dropped everything on the left side down. So I have x times x, which is x squared, x times 8, which is 8x, 8 times x, which is 8x, and then 8 times 8, which gives me 64. Okay, so now I'm going to drop this other stuff down. Whenever I drop this 12 squared down, I'm going to drop it, and it's going to be 144. So just know I just did 12 squared there, kind of killing two birds with one stone. And then I can't do x squared because I don't know what x is, so I'm just going to drop it down. Okay, now on the right side, it looks like we have some like terms we need to combine, those x's. You cannot combine x squareds with x's because they are not like terms. So we have x squared plus 16x plus 64 on the right, and then 144 plus x squared on the left. Okay, I know it's looking really crazy, but it's about to get a lot more simple. So let's move our x squareds over the same side. So I'm going to minus x squared because that one's positive. Minus x squared, minus x squared. Look what happens. Those cancel and those cancel. So poof, the x squareds are gone, making our life a lot easier. I'm just going to bring everything else down. So 144 equals 16x plus 64. Now it's just a two-step equation. Subtract 64 from both sides. And then I have 16x equals, what would that be, 80? Divide by 16, divide by 16, and I believe you get x equals 5. Kind of cool, right? It was kind of a gross problem. We know our radius is 5. We could plug that back in and check it, but I'm going to try to save time on this video. I know it's getting kind of long. Okay, one more exactly like this. Please make sure you're writing this down because I know it's a little difficult. So we still have our Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, so now we have our hypotenuse, which is that whole thing. Okay, so we have x plus 6. That's our hypotenuse. And I need to put that in parentheses because it's a binomial just like last time. And now the legs, the order doesn't matter. This time I'm going to put the x squared first plus 10 squared. That's the other leg. Okay, so now let's go ahead and multiply it out like we did the last one. So we have x plus 6 times x plus 6. And if you show your work, you're going to get the answer right. If you don't, you're more likely to make a mistake. So make sure you're showing your work on this one. So go ahead and FOIL out the right side. Oh, and by the way, I just did 10 squared. I dropped it and made it 100 because I knew I was going to have to do that eventually. Okay, so now x times x is x squared. X times 6 is 6x. 6 times x is 6x, positive. And then 6 times 6 is positive 36. Okay, drop this stuff down. What's next? We need to combine like terms, and that's the only 6x is the only thing you can combine. So now we have x squared plus 12x plus 36 equals x plus 100. Oh, I'm messing up. See, it's x squared. You probably already caught that. So x squared plus 100. Okay, now let's move our x squareds together. So minus x squared minus x squared. Look, they cancel again. Perfect. So now I have 100 equals 12x plus 36. We're going to subtract 36 from both sides. and you get 12x equals, what would this be, 64? Then divide by, all right, so we're going to divide both sides by 12. And this answer is going to give you a decimal. So I do not want you to round this decimal, of course. You know how I feel about rounding. So it's 5.33333333. So you have a couple different options. You could write it as 5 1/3, or if you hit that fraction button on your calculator and it writes it as 16/3, that's perfectly fine. This is what I would prefer. Another answer I would give you credit is, since this is a repeating decimal, 5.3 repeating, but I really prefer it in a fraction. All right, so now we have something a little bit different. Is ML tangent to circle N at L? So how you do this is you see if the Pythagorean theorem works. So remember back whenever we did the Pythagorean theorem, we were seeing if this triangle is a right triangle. Okay, so we don't know. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then it's not. So where is the potential hypotenuse? We don't know if it's really a hypotenuse unless we know it's a right triangle, but we'll pretend. The potential hypotenuse is 25. Okay, and then the legs, it doesn't matter, so I'm going to have 7 squared plus 24 squared. So we are going to solve this and see if both sides are equal. So what I would like for you to do is type this left side in your calculator exactly how it is. Don't change anything. So you're going to do 7 squared plus 24 squared, and you get 625. So 625. Okay, now do the other side. 25 to the second power. Type that in your calculator. You also get 625. Does 625 equal 625? Yes. Check. So the answer is yes. This is a right triangle. So it'll say, so ML is tangent to circle N. Okay, so we're going to do another one. This time they don't label it for you, but that's okay. We'll just throw our labels on there. So if NL is 4, ML is 7, and NM is 8. So we're going to see if this passes the Pythagorean theorem. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The one that really matters is your c. So you get, I'm skipping steps, 8 squared. And the other side, 4 squared plus 7 squared. Okay, just like we did on the last one, you type that left side in your calculator exactly as is, and you get 65 equals, and then 8 squared would be 64. Does this pass the Pythagorean theorem test? No. So no, this is not a right triangle. That's good enough. You don't have to say so it's not a tangent. If you just say no, it's not a right triangle, that's acceptable. Okay, so here we go. Last little theorem, and then we're almost done with these notes. So theorem 12.3, if two tangent segments to a circle share a common endpoint outside the circle, then the two segments are congruent. So if you have two things that are tangent, so AB and BC are tangents, then this segment and this segment are congruent. Okay, so do they give us an example? Nope, they give us these. Okay, so let's talk about the next one. So in the figure at the right, the sides of the triangle are tangent to the circle. The circle is inscribed in the triangle. That's a fancy word for saying like inside. And the tangent is circumscribed, is how you say that word, about the circle. So it is outside of the circle. So again, I'll say that the circle is inscribed, that means inside the triangle, and the triangle is circumscribed about the circle, so that means it's outside the circle. Okay, so circle O is inscribed in ABC. What is the perimeter of ABC? So some things we should know about inscribed. Since it's inscribed, we know that those are going to be tangents, because if that's the case, it only the circle only hits the triangle in those 3 points, which means they're tangents. So we know that if AD is 10, AF would also be 10. That little piece right here. Okay, we know if FC is 8, we know EC is also going to be 8. And then if DB is 15, then we know EB will also be 15. Okay, so now we have all these pieces labeled. What is the perimeter? All you need to do is add up the pieces. So we have 10 plus 10 plus 15 plus 15 plus 8 plus 8. Okay, type those in your calculator, add them up. When you do, you get 66. And I'm trying to be better about my labeling, so what would the label be? Well, this is perimeter, which is kind of like circumference. So it's one-dimensional, it's just one line, so that would be 66 centimeters. All right, last question. Ooh, this one's tricky. So, circles O is inscribed in triangle PQR, which has a perimeter. They're telling you what the perimeter is 88 centimeters. What is the length of QY? So QY is what we're trying to find. Okay, let's talk about our different things. What would XQ be? Well, that would also be X, right? We don't know. That's the missing value. Okay, so XP is 15. So what would PZ be? Also 15. And then ZR is 17, so YR is also 17. Okay, so we have all of the pieces labeled, and we know what they equal, so let's just set up a big equation. So I'm going to have X plus 17 plus 17 plus 15 plus 15. All of that is going to equal my total, which they told us was 88. All right, now we have just a big equation, so let's solve it. X plus X is 2X. All of these numbers is 64, I believe. And then drop down that equals in the 88. Now it's a two-stepper. Subtract 64 from both sides. You have 2X equals, what is that? 24. Divide by 2. X is 12. All right, so that's the answer. So all right, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.